Another mystery buried deep in the hills of eastern Washington keeps resurfacing, a bottomless pit said to be a pathway to the paranormal.
In a quiet area of eastern Washington, people talk about something very strange, a deep hole hidden in the hills. Some say it's more than just a hole. They say it's connected to things we don't understand. One day, a group of people decided to send a camera down into this hole. At first, they saw nothing unusual, just smooth, dark walls going straight down. But then something odd happened. The picture on the screen started to glitch. Then a strange shape appeared. Then came a sound, low and creepy. Everyone went quiet. They replayed the video over and over, trying to understand what they had seen. What they found didn't make sense. It felt like something was inside the hole, something real, something possibly alive. For a long time, the government said the hole didn't exist. But now, there was video proof, and it was frightening. So how did this all begin? Back in 1997,
All right. When did you discover this hole?
Well, the hole has always been there. We've been out there for a couple of years now.
a man named Mel Waters called into a late-night radio show called Coast to Coast AM. He told the host, Art Bell, about a very deep hole on his land near Ellensburg, Washington. He said it didn't have a bottom, or at least he had never found one. Mel said that people in the area had known about the hole for many years. Some even believed Native American tribes called it the Devil's Hole and stayed far away from it. They thought the place was cursed. Over time, many strange stories grew around the hole. People said anything dropped into it never made a sound and never came back. Appliances, junk, even dead animals, all just vanished into the darkness. There were no crashes, no splashes, nothing. Local farmers used the hole to get rid of large trash. Some even dropped dead livestock into it. It seemed easier than burying them. But the creepiest stories, those came from pet owners. Most animals are brave by nature, but near this strange hole, even the toughest dogs acted scared. Some growled and barked like they sensed danger. Others wouldn't even get close. They'd whine, shake, or try to run the other way. It wasn't just dogs either. Birds didn't land nearby. No animals wanted to be around it. It was as if something invisible warned them to stay away. Mel Waters didn't want to rely on old stories or local legends. He wanted proof. So he came up with a simple plan. Figure out how deep the hole really was. He brought a long spool of fishing line and tied a small weight to the end. Then slowly he lowered it into the hole. The line kept going. 100 feet, 1,000 feet, 5,000 feet. Still no bottom. Mel connected more and more spools of line, mile after mile. When he finally stopped and looked at the counter, he couldn't believe it. Over 15 miles of line had gone down. And still, nothing. But Mel wasn't done. He wanted to make sure the hole wasn't filled with water. So he tried a clever trick. He tied a roll of Lifesavers candy to the line. His thinking was simple. If there was water down there, the candy would dissolve. When he pulled it back up, the Lifesavers were untouched. Dry. That meant there was no water at the bottom. If his measurements were right, this hole was deeper than any human-made hole on Earth, deeper than the giant borehole in Russia, which only goes down about 7.6 miles. Experts said that kind of depth couldn't exist naturally. At those levels, the Earth's heat and pressure should cause the walls to collapse. Something this deep should leave signs, cracks, steam, heat. But Mel said it was real. He stood by his test. And once the story got out, everything changed. People all over the country became obsessed. Was it just a weird sinkhole? Or was it something much bigger? Paranormal groups, explorers, and mystery lovers all wanted a look. Everyone had their own theory. Some said it was a natural wonder. Others thought it might be a secret project or even a doorway to another world. The more people talked about it, the stranger things became. Mel Waters soon found himself at the center of something much darker. He wasn't just dealing with curious people anymore. He was being watched. Someone, or something, was trying to keep the truth hidden. What started as a strange hole on Mel Waters' land had now become something much bigger, something that seemed to catch the attention of powerful people. At first, it was small things. Mel noticed tracks near the hole, big tire marks he didn't recognize, and deep footprints left by someone wearing heavy boots. He hadn't invited anyone, and no one said they'd been there. Still, the signs were clear. Someone had visited his land without permission. Then it got serious. One morning, Mel was heading toward his property when he was stopped by a group of men. These weren't local police or regular government workers. They were wearing full yellow safety suits and guarding the area like it was dangerous. They told Mel he wasn't allowed to enter. He was shocked. Why not? He asked. The men gave him a simple explanation. A plane had supposedly crashed nearby, and the area was now off limits for safety reasons. But Mel didn't believe them. He had lived there for years. There had been no crash, no noise, no fire, no cleanup crews, nothing. The story didn't add up. When Mel asked more questions, the situation turned dark. A few men in army uniforms came over, along with someone in regular clothes who spoke calmly but firmly. They made Mel an offer, leave the United States and never return, and he would be paid $250,000 every year for life. But if he didn't accept, they warned him they could easily say he was doing something illegal, like running a drug lab on his land. That would be enough to send him to jail for years.
I was told by this man that it's not necessarily my property, and that it would be very easy to find a drug lab on my property. Well, I got the drift.
The message was clear: take the money and disappear, or get ruined. Mel was stunned. He thought maybe he'd get some resistance, but not this level of pressure. It felt like the government wanted total control over the hole, and they were ready to do anything to get it. Still confused and scared, Mel reached out again. He called Coast to Coast AM a second time and spoke with Art Bell, the radio host. He told the audience everything about the strange visitors, the threats, and how the hole seemed to attract serious interest from people in power. But after that, he vanished. Mel Waters never appeared again. He had said he would return to the radio show for a third time, but he never called. The producers tried reaching out, but there was no answer. His phone line went dead. When someone went to check his house, it was empty. He was just gone. And it didn't stop there. The land where the strange hole was located, that disappeared too. Neighbors noticed something odd. No one was allowed near the area anymore. It was fenced off, guarded, and completely silent. People who had once walked the trails nearby were now told to stay away. Suddenly, all documents proving Mel ever owned that land were missing. No title, no public record. It was as if he had never lived there. Researchers who followed the case looked at satellite images of the region. That's when they noticed something chilling. Parts of the landscape near Manistash Ridge had been blurred out, blocked, like someone didn't want the world to see what was there. This raised more questions. Had Mel really agreed to leave the country in exchange for silence? Or had something terrible happened to him? Some believed the worst, that he had been killed to keep the secret hidden. Others shared an even darker theory. What if Mel had been thrown into the hole himself? If the pit really had no bottom, it would be the perfect place to hide someone forever. No sound, no remains, nothing to trace. In 2002, 5 years after Mel's first call, new people became curious. Even though Mel Waters had vanished years ago, people never stopped talking about the strange hole he claimed to find. Stories of government involvement, locked-down land, and strange animal behavior kept people curious. If the hole was nothing important, why had so many gone to great lengths to cover it up? Wanting to find out for themselves, a group of curious explorers set out on a mission. They weren't professional scientists, but they were passionate. Some were making documentaries, some were part-time researchers, and others were just thrill-seekers obsessed with the mystery of bottomless holes and hidden government secrets. This time, they brought modern tools, advanced cameras, sensors, and heat-detecting gear. They were confident. If the hole was still out there, they'd find it. And they'd record whatever was inside. But first, they had to actually locate it. There were no clear directions, so they used old radio interviews, stories from locals, and satellite images to search the area near Manistash Ridge, where the original hole had supposedly been. At first, nothing. Trees, rocks, hills, it all looked normal. Maybe too normal. It was like the land had been reshaped. If the government had tried to hide the hole, they might have buried it or changed the landscape to make it disappear. Then something caught their attention. One member of the group noticed a spot where the soil didn't match the rest. The ground felt soft and hollow underneath. It didn't look natural. They started digging. After hours of work, they hit something solid. Stone, round, smooth, and carefully placed. Could this be it? It matched Mel's original description. A deep hole lined with stone, hidden in plain sight. The team quickly got to work. They set up a strong camera attached to a thick cable. It had infrared vision, night vision, and sensors to track temperature and movement. Their plan was simple: lower the camera into the hole, record everything, and pull it back up to study what they saw. As the camera started to move downward, everyone watched the live screen closely. The walls inside were smooth and almost perfectly round. It didn't look like a natural crack in the earth. It looked carved. There was no moss, no bugs, no dripping water, nothing. Then, about 100 feet down, something unexpected happened. The temperature dropped quickly, far colder than it should have been underground. The heat sensors stopped working properly, showing strange numbers and flickering patterns. Still, the team decided to continue. They wanted to know how deep it really went, and what was waiting in the dark below. As the camera moved deeper into the hole, down past 300 feet, something strange appeared on the screen. A soft light flickered in the dark. It was faint, barely there, like a distant spark. The team leaned closer to the monitor, trying to make sense of it. The glow wasn't steady like a flashlight or a reflection. It blinked slowly, like a heartbeat. One of the team members quietly asked, "Could it be glowing bugs or something alive down there?" But even that didn't quite make sense. The blinking was too exact, too perfect, like it was timed. Suddenly something moved. A dark shape passed in front of the light for just a second, then disappeared. Everyone froze. This wasn't what they were expecting. They thought they might see deep cracks, tunnels, or strange rock shapes. Not this. One person whispered, "Maybe it's just a glitch in the video." But no one believed that. The feeling in the air was tense. They kept lowering the camera. When it hit about 500 feet, the cable jolted. The screen shook. Something had grabbed or bumped the camera. The lead technician grabbed the controls and kept the line tight. No one spoke. All eyes were on the screen. The camera stopped shaking. Then, something appeared. A blurry figure moved just outside the camera's range. It was big, too big to be a small animal, and it didn't look like falling rocks. It was moving slowly, as if it was aware they were watching. One person backed away from the monitor, clearly scared. Others just stood there, stuck between fear and fascination. Were they about to uncover real proof, or make a terrible mistake? Then from the speakers a noise broke the silence. Not static, not rocks falling. It was something between a sharp breath and a deep whisper. The camera operator didn't wait. He hit the button to pull the camera back up, fast. The screen glitched and flickered. Strange lines and static blurred the picture as the camera rose. Everyone watched in silence, hoping the camera would make it out. Then, nothing. The screen went black. They had footage, but it only left them more confused. What had they seen? Whatever was inside that hole didn't look like anything from nature. It didn't sound like anything explainable, and it didn't act like something meant to be found. Theories spread fast. Some said it was a technical issue. Others believed the hole hid something alive, or something not meant to be discovered. One bold theory said the hole wasn't natural at all. Some believed it was man-made, built by the government for secret testing or hidden experiments. As one researcher put it, "This road here, it doesn't lead to an old farm, it leads straight to Mel's hole." Some people think the military knew about the strange hole long before Mel Waters ever told anyone about it. They believe the government may have used the site for secret testing. What made this idea stronger was how the government reacted. If the hole was just an unusual crack in the ground, why take Mel's land? Why delete his name from public records? Why blur out the area in satellite photos? And why were soldiers spotted near the site? One theory says the hole was part of a failed government project, maybe a science experiment gone wrong or even a hidden weapons base deep underground. But things got even weirder. The sheep and the burning ice.
What a lot of people don't realize is he lives about, depending on where the hole is, between 5 and 10 miles away from one of the largest military reservations in the Pacific Northwest, possibly the western United States.
Before Mel disappeared, he claimed that Native American elders had contacted him. They told him about another strange hole, this one in Nevada. Mel went there with a few locals to see it for himself. It didn't look like the original. Instead of stone walls, this one had a shiny metal surface. It didn't seem natural at all. It looked like something had built it. They wanted to know if this hole behaved like the first one. To test it, they began dropping small items inside, pebbles, wood, even old gadgets. None of them made a sound. They just vanished into the darkness. No clinks, no splashes, nothing. Then a rancher had a bold idea: lower a live sheep into the pit. At first it sounded risky, but the group was curious. Would the animal survive? Would anything happen? They tied a rope to a harness and gently lowered the sheep down. But as soon as the animal passed into the hole, it began to scream. Not like normal sheep noises. This sound was terrifying, like pain mixed with something unnatural. The group panicked and quickly pulled the sheep back up. What they found shocked them. The sheep wasn't torn or injured. Its body looked untouched from the outside. But when they examined it closely, they realized something was very wrong. Its insides had been cooked, as if it had been heated from the inside out. They carefully cut it open. What they found inside shocked everyone. There, lying among its cooked insides, was something unexpected, something that should not have been there, a small creature. But it wasn't a normal baby animal. Its skin looked gray and smooth, almost rubbery. Its arms and legs were tiny but clearly shaped, and its eyes, wide open and fully developed, stared blankly. No one said a word. Everyone just froze. Some wondered if the sheep had been pregnant without them knowing. But even if that were true, this didn't look like a regular lamb. Then something happened that made the situation even more disturbing. The creature moved. Just for a moment. Barely noticeable, but it moved. Before anyone could react, its body suddenly broke down. Within seconds, it melted into a puddle of thick liquid. Gone. The group was terrified, but they pressed on. Later, they found something else near the hole, something that didn't belong in the desert. It was a crystal-like material, clear and solid and cold to the touch. It felt like ice, even in the heat of the Nevada sun. One man broke off a piece and set it on fire, just to see what would happen. It caught fire immediately, burning with a bright blue flame. But unlike normal things, it didn't melt. It didn't shrink. It just kept burning and burning endlessly. Mel claimed the locals brought a sample to a scientist. The experts said it might be a new kind of energy source, something that could power machines in a way we've never seen before. But just like everything else tied to these mysterious holes, the discovery didn't lead to answers. Instead, it brought more fear, more secrets, more danger. To most people, the stories from Nevada sound impossible. A hole lined with metal that cooks living things without touching them. A strange creature with features no one could explain. A crystal that burns forever without running out. Skeptics dismissed it all. They said Mel was either lying or just trying to stay in the spotlight. But others saw the pattern. Both holes were hidden, both had strange effects that broke the rules of science. And both, for reasons never fully explained, had drawn serious interest from the government. So people began asking bigger questions. If these pits were made by humans, who built them? If they form naturally, why do they behave so strangely? And if neither of those are true? For a long time, people thought Mel Waters was gone forever. After he gave his second interview on Coast to Coast AM, he suddenly disappeared. Nobody knew where he went. His land was taken. His name was removed from all public records. People who tried to look into his story hit dead ends. The man who brought the world the story of the mysterious hole was simply gone. Then out of nowhere in 2002, Mel came back. He called the same radio show again, but this time his voice was different. He sounded unsure, scared, like he didn't even understand what had happened to him. What he said next shocked everyone. Mel claimed he had been taken by people working for the government. He didn't know where he had been taken or how long he was gone. He remembered nothing. Time had passed, but for him, it was just a blank. There were also strange changes to his body. He said he woke up in a strange place with scars and marks he couldn't explain. It looked like someone had done medical procedures on him, without his permission and without leaving any memory of it. He also admitted something that made listeners uneasy. He didn't feel safe talking. He chose his words carefully. It sounded like he knew he was saying too much, and that someone might be watching or listening. As he kept speaking, his fear became more clear. Mel believed the two strange holes, the one in Washington and the other in Nevada, weren't natural at all. He was sure the government was studying them, and worse, he believed these holes were part of something bigger, something hidden. Then he said something chilling. There might be more of these holes around the world. According to Mel, what he had found was just the beginning. He promised to return with more proof, something he said that would shock everyone and change everything, but he never called again. That was the last time anyone heard from Mel Waters. After that call in 2002, he vanished once more. No one could reach him. No one knew where he went. It was as if he had been erased again, just like before. The government didn't say a word. Officials still denied the hole ever existed. Mel's land stayed off limits, guarded and hidden from public view. And even now, no one knows what truly happened to Mel. Some say the man who found the hole might have ended up in a deeper, darker mystery than he expected. Today, curious people still explore the hills around Manistash Ridge. They hope to find clues missed by others, anything to explain the story. Paranormal hunters, filmmakers, and adventurers keep returning. But no one ever finds clear answers. Mel Waters remains missing. No new sightings, no new messages, just questions. The strange videos, the creepy sounds, and Mel's final words still haunt the story. So people ask, was the hole real? Or was it just a powerful story with no truth behind it? Maybe the answer is somewhere in between. Until someone finds solid proof, the mystery of Mel's hole will continue.